What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today we're counting down the top 10 best Adidas Yeezy releases of 2020 so far. But before we jump into things, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, the Check app. Some of you may have just caught my most recent unboxing where I unboxed the upcoming Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Asriels. This shoe is dope for sure, and it looks legit, at least to me, but I wanted to make sure that this shoe was authentic before I actually gave this shoe a full review. So the way that I was able to check and guarantee the authenticity of this shoe was use the Check app. And one of the best parts about the Check app is that you can actually get results within 30 minutes. Using the Check app is really easy. All you have to do is select the brand of sneakers that you have and then the model, and then once you've done that, take pictures of all the relevant details of the shoe. In fact, they actually give you prompts as to what pictures that they need to make sure that your shoe is authentic. And then once you've done that, you submit your images and then wait for your shoe to be legit checked. But the best part about the Check app is how in-depth they get when they're looking at your sneakers. When you first submit your images, they're analyzed by an AI, and then they actually have two separate real people look over your sneakers. That's why it's called the Check app, because it's checked twice. And as of right now, they've analyzed over 155,000 pairs of sneakers. In fact, if you click on the Explore tab, you can actually take a look at some of the newest sneakers which they've analyzed. So if you would like to check out the Check app for yourself, make sure to click the link in the top of the description and use my code SETHFOWLER for one free legit check. It's a great way to check on that one pair of sneakers in your collection that you bought from that dude from a Facebook meetup that you're not totally sure about and you want to know for sure. But not only that, I've teamed up with the Check app to give away one free year of legit checks or $500 in sneaker cash. All you need to do to enter is follow the Check app on Instagram, download the Check app through one of those links in the description below, sign up for the Check app, and use my code SETHFOWLER. Once you've done all that, make sure to click done in the comment section down below. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Once again, huge thank you to the Check app for sponsoring today's video. But now let's get into the Yeezys. Even though we've been stuck inside for most of 2020, we've still had a lot of Yeezy releases, in fact, more than usual. And not only that, as of like a couple days ago, Kanye tweeted out the rest of the Yeezy releases for the rest of the year. So it looks like, as of right now, in the middle of September 2020, we know pretty much every single Yeezy that's going to drop in 2020. And because of that, I thought now would be a perfect time to do a top 10 Yeezys of 2020 list. So the rankings on this list are based heavily on my own personal opinions and also the sales figures on StockX. But generally, with a few exceptions, I would say that the shoes at the top of the list have resold more times than the shoes at the bottom of the list. I also put some shoes at the top of the list because they're more innovative and they're newer. But you can judge for yourself whether you agree with this list or not, but let me know in the comment section down below. Starting things off at number 10, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 700 MNVN in orange. This shoe released back at the end of February for a retail price of $220, and as far as I can tell, it's the most popular MNVN colorway. The MNVN is a weird take on the 700 silhouette. It removes all the paneling that makes the 700 silhouette unique and instead replaces it with one piece of nylon material. The most prominent detail on the shoe is the 700 branding on the lateral side of the sneaker in 3M. I'm pretty sure it was also the first Yeezy sneaker to use that brand new infinity lacing system that doesn't actually have ends, and the only way to tighten the shoe is by pulling on it. Even though the 700 MNVN just released for the first time this year, we had actually known about this sneaker for years. Apparently Kanye had given a very early version of the shoe, I think in the neon green colorway, to 6ix9ine, and because of that we saw a bunch of early images of the shoe, but after the shoe released, I think the hype died down a little bit because people realized it wasn't that comfortable, and also it wasn't that good looking. Out of all the MNVN colorways to drop, the orange one I think is not only the most popular, but also my own personal favorite. That's just not a shade of orange that you often see on sneakers, let alone the entire upper of the shoe. It's unique, it's out there, and it's definitely polarizing. Next up at number 9, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Taillight. This shoe bears a striking resemblance to the True Form colorway that released a year or two earlier. However, unlike the True Forms, which I believe only released in Asia, this shoe only released in Europe. The Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Taillight released on February 22nd, 2020 for a retail price of $220. That's a lot of twos, I didn't even realize that. The 350 V2 Taillight featured a mid-gray prime knit upper with a clear stripe along the side as well as an orange accent on the heel tab. The inspiration behind the name of this shoe is obvious, it looks like a taillight. That's pretty much all there is to it. Unlike the True Forms, which featured painted boost underneath the midsole so you could see through to sort of a light orange color, this time around they decided to go with their standard white boost, and the midsole just kind of looks like a semi-translucent gray. It's a clean shoe, it's a simple shoe, and for some reason, presumably the fact that it's regional, it's extremely hyped up. At number 8, we've got a much more recent release with the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Zion. This shoe dropped on July 18th for $220, which seems to just be the standard 350 V2 price, so I probably don't need to keep saying it. But the thing that made this sneaker popular is is the brown and cream prime knit static patterned upper. While it's not the most unique or mind-blowing colorway, it's definitely clean and a lot of people were drawn to it because of how wearable it was. My favorite part of the shoe, however, is the dark brown stripe on the lateral side. I feel like it brings some nice contrast to the side of the shoe. Interestingly enough though, the midsole and the outsole of the shoe come in a light cream color and provide some nice separation between the bottom of the shoe and the top of the shoe. And also for some reason Kanye decided that this is going to be one of the 350 V2s that doesn't have a pull tab. I'm not sure how he decides what's going to have a pull tab and what doesn't, but I don't mind it on this shoe. I'm kind of apathetic towards the pull tab as it is, so no big deal. After that, at number 7 is the Adidas Yeezy 700 V3 Alva. This shoe is the second colorway of the wildly popular 700 V3 silhouette, and this time around the shoe came in all black. The 700 V3 Alva released on April 11th for a retail price of $200, and like every other 700 V3, did not feature boost in the midsole. The 700 V3 is such a cool shoe because it's such a unique vision of the future, and you're gonna hear me say that again for another sneaker later on down the list, but I love the way this sneaker looks. It's wild, it's organic, and it's just a great looking shoe. Unlike a lot of the other sneakers on the list, the 700 V3 seems to be the most, if not one of the most limited Yeezys to release this year. The Alva colorway comes in a black and gray textile mesh upper, which actually has this RPU cage over top of it. The RPU cage is definitely what gives this shoe its unique aesthetic, and that's not only because of its sort of skeletal look, but it's also because this cage glows in the dark. I know, I thought glow in the dark sneakers were dead too, but this one glows and it's fire, and now it's back. Like I said before, the 700 V3 does not feature boost in the midsole and instead features a much more standard EVA foam. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the reason that they did that was because they wanted to reduce the cost of the sneaker, and boost is expensive. Unfortunately, because there is no boost in the midsole, it's not as comfortable as a Boost 700, but it's still a relatively comfortable shoe, although it fits very small, and it's a great looking sneaker. So if you care about aesthetics over comfort, this is a great way to go. After that, at number 6, we've got the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Earth. This shoe was a regional release alongside the taillights, however, instead of releasing in Europe, it released in the Americas. And like the taillights, it looks a lot like another Yeezy colorway from a couple years ago, and that colorway is the clay colorway. This shoe comes in sort of an old chocolate brown. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you leave out a chocolate bar for a couple days and it starts to turn like a weird, gross white color? That's what this shoe reminds me of. Or maybe you don't, because most people don't leave out chocolate bars for a couple days. But even though the shoe looks like old chocolate, it's still a pretty appealing colorway because of how wearable it is. The tonal brown shoe features an obviously brown prime knit upper accented by a darker brown stripe along the side, as well as a more gray sort of pull tab and also gray laces. The midsole of the shoe comes in a much more caramel brown with a dark chocolate colored brown on the outsole. I hate how hungry this shoe is making me. And the final pop of color on this shoe is the bright yellow accent on the heel of the outsole. Not sure why they went with a bright yellow, but I'm not mad at it. It's a plain colorway, but for a lot of people, that's what they want from their Yeezys, and that's why I think this is one of the most popular Yeezys to drop this year. At number 5, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Desert Sage. This is by far one of the most unique 350 V2s to release all year, and that's because it comes in green with a bright orange accent around the ankle. The Desert Sage 350s released on March 14th for, you guessed it, $220. What makes the Desert Sage unique besides the colorway of the sneaker is that unlike a lot of the 350 V2s that have two variants of the same color, a reflective and a non-reflective version of the shoe, the Desert Sage 350s only released in one colorway, and all of them had a 3M side stripe. I actually think that's my favorite place to put 3M on a pair of Yeezys. I like it because it's more contained and it's much more of a bright accent than a bunch of little like stars around the upper. I also really dig that pop of color on the sock liner. That bright orange is crazy, but it accents the green really nicely. It kind of looks like the Duck Dynasty Yeezys. Actually, they probably wear the Earths. I don't know, I've never seen the show. It looks like a Yeezy that you would hunt in. That's the point that I'm trying to make. The hunting Yeezy. That was not worth it. At number 4, we've got the original colorway of the Adidas Yeezy Quantum. This shoe was first released in Chicago during All-Star Weekend on February 16th for a retail price of $250. And actually, the way the shoe was released was pretty interesting because Kanye drove around in those trucks from, I forget what music video it was, and handed out pairs to people on the side of the road. I've got to say, that was one of the craziest All-Star Weekends I've ever been to. But the reason this shoe is so high on the list is because this is one of those Yeezys that we've seen teased for literally years, and finally in 2020 we got the pair released. There are two different variants of this shoe, even though they look very, very similar. There's a lifestyle shoe, which we have pictured right here, and a basketball version, which features an RPU cage on the midfoot. The Quantum features a very interesting sort of textile mesh / prime knit upper with this sort of wavy pattern on the side. It's definitely a unique look, and it's one that you're not going to see on really any other basketball shoe. The heel counter of the shoe comes in a hard plastic with a giant 3M accent running around the bottom. Actually, another fun fact, the Yeezy Quantum was banned by the NBA for on-court play because of how much reflective material was on the shoe. While this shoe might not be for everybody, it's really cool to see Kanye drop an actual performance basketball sneaker. It's something that we never thought would happen, and now that it's out there, It's pretty cool. At number 3, we've got one of my personal favorite shoes on the list, the Adidas Yeezy Foam Runner. I think it's safe to say that this shoe is the most polarizing shoe of 2020. The Yeezy Foam Runner had an extremely limited release on YeezySupply.com on June 26th for a retail price of $75. And what makes this shoe so interesting is that it's kind of like a Yeezy Croc. And I hate to say it like that because that really takes away from the essence of the shoe, but in reality, it's like a foam Croc thing. But I love it. In my humble opinion, the Yeezy Foam Runner is the future of footwear. Foam, all-encompassing shoes are the future of footwear. It's just like the perfect all-purpose lifestyle shoe. When it gets dirty, you can hose it down. You can wear it to the beach, you can wear it to the mall, you can wear it to... well, you probably don't want to wear it to anything fancy, but you can wear it to most things. I've been wearing my own personal pair for like months at this point, almost every single day. I'm consistently blown away by how comfortable the foam is, much more comfortable than any other foam sneaker on the market, and how little it wears. I've worn this shoe, like I said, almost every single day, and it's barely worn. It's crazy. What's also interesting about this shoe is how the sneaker is made, because it's made up of a combination of algae-based foam and EVA. So it's essentially sustainable, it's made in the United States, and it's only $75. What's not to like? Okay, I understand. It looks ridiculous, but that's the best part. I feel like as a sneakerhead, you like when people stare at your feet. And in this shoe, they're staring at your feet. This is the definition of an insane, futuristic looking shoe, and that's the reason that I love this shoe. Not because of all the cool stuff about it, but because of how it looks. It looks like it was grown in a lab. It looks like, well, an algae-based sneaker. I cannot wait until more colorways of this shoe come out, and also the 450s, because the 450s are made of the same material. If you've never tried a pair of Yeezy Foam Runners before, do yourself a favor and try it when they release again. It's a great shoe, and it's definitely worth your $75. At number 2, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 700 V3 Arzareth. The Arzareth 700 V3 released on August 29th for a retail price of $200 and sold out instantly. It was much harder to get than I expected. And like the 700 V3 Alva that released earlier in the year, this shoe also does not feature boost, and it also still comes with that glow-in-the-dark RPU midfoot cage. But what really makes this shoe special, and in my opinion puts this shoe so much higher than the Alva on the list, is the fact that it comes in a crazy bright blue. Since Kanye has been with Adidas, we haven't had too many bright colors. Yes, there have been some, but most of the colors are like earth tones. The blue used on the Arzareth 700 V3s is so bright and so vivid, it just looks incredible. And because of that, it's one of the most exciting and eye-catching Yeezy releases of the entire year. Okay, it's probably not as eye-catching as the Foam Runners, but I think more people would be willing to wear this shoe than that shoe. I mean, there's not much else to say about it. It's just a super clean 700 V3. And then finally, rounding off the list at number 1, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Cinder. The Cinder 350 V2s dropped on March 21st for a retail price of $220. And although the release of the Cinders is not too far from the triple black colorway that released last year, it's still a great looking, primarily black Yeezy 350 V2. And like I said about the Earth 350 V2s earlier, solid color Yeezys are the easiest to rock. And when you get such a clean and sleek looking 350 V2 that kind of just blends off into the background and becomes an accent piece to a really nice minimal outfit, you've got a winner. But my favorite part of the shoe isn't the fact that it's primarily black, it's the subtle color variation that takes place between the upper, the midsole, and the outsole. While the upper of the shoe looks black from a distance, when you get up close you'll notice that it's a very dark shade of gray. Then when you move down on the shoe, you'll notice that the midsole is actually a slightly lighter shade of gray, and the outsole of the shoe comes in a very dark brown. It's got layers, and I like it, and I think it's the epitome of a nicely designed minimal 350 V2. And also, according to StockX, it's the best-selling 350 V2 from this year on their website, so that's another reason why it's at the top of the list. But that pretty much wraps up this Yeezy list for today. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on this list and whether you agree with it or whether you don't. So let me know in the comment section down below. Once again, huge thank you to the Check app for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to enter the giveaway and download the Check app and use my code SETHFOWLER for a free check. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.